Hey, what is going on, guys? We are back here to talk about Rooster Fighter Episode 9, and I'm here with the one and only,
Cameron Thomas funny clips.
the GOAT, the legend, back once again. I do apologize, Sunday was pretty hectic with Mother's Day, but we were able to get back together on Tuesday, which was really awesome. Hopefully I'm not annoying you too much on an off day.
No, you're not.
Okay. So, how did you feel about Episode 9?
I will say this is probably my favorite episode so far. Not that the past episodes have been bad, but this episode really was really good. What I am kind of confused about is that we skipped a whole side plot of we literally what they did was that they adapted a whole volume, which I have never seen an anime try to do before. And I would say this is kind of the first that this has pretty much happened because usually they try to go for one chapter to two chapters. And for like to go for a whole volume per episode, like it just doesn't work because they cut out a whole side plot this episode, which was this whole development arc with Elizabeth and Kizuki, which is quite funny in itself, and it actually shows that they work better together than she does with Keiji, which I really felt like that would have been needed. But instead, we focus more on the Pyoko side of things. And I do understand that we're kind of more focusing on Pyoko in these episodes. But even then, I feel like Kizuki also needs some development too because he just joined. I mean, you you don't show a character first off and then give them nothing. That is a really bad decision on their point, in my opinion. Like that would be honestly like if in Dragon Ball, for example, if Vegeta came uh in like the first arc and then he was barely used in that arc.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of hinders this character becoming a fan favorite as well. Because if we go back to what I said about Vegeta, if that happened, I guarantee you Vegeta would not be the fan favorite of Dragon Ball anymore. Like by that point, it would be Piccolo or even Yamcha for all I care. But it's really sad to see that, mostly because he's one of my favorite characters in the manga. But hopefully they don't do him dirty in like the next episode. But as for this episode, this was very, very Pyoko focused. You actually just, this felt like Pyoko's episode to me more than anything. You could say it was more of a Pyoko and Keiji episode, but he was barely in the episode to begin with. So I'm just gonna be like that. This was a full on Pyoko episode. But yeah, we like I've been saying this is we've been going through this redemption arc with Pyoko for a while, and we finally got there. And we're finally at the turning point of her redemption, of her gaining her hidden potential. Now, how they do this is exactly how the manga does it, pretty much, where she literally wants to show Keiji that she can handle herself on her own. And as we can see, she actually struggles. She's a flawed character at the end of the day. And I do like that about her. It kind of shows more realism in in this universe where not every hero needs to be brave or strong or even an adult even because after all she's still a chick, and it's amazing that she has survived on her own this far. And it's just like a good, like she's like the underdog you kind of root for in the end You want her to be, uh, you want her to speak out herself and actually get to where she's more independent. That's what you really want her to be. Then let her end up being this person who relies on everything. Because why I think this is like a better version than Usopp, in my opinion. Usopp, he has kind of run his course where he pretty much he's a coward throughout the whole series and he never becomes independent. So far we haven't gotten him to be independent, to be honest with you. And it just shows you the difference of making that their whole character and letting that be their starting point to character development. And I think the character development side of it works better than what Oda did with Usopp of making it his entire character and pretty much making him a gag character. This makes Pyoko a more developed character than what most uh, gag characters wish they could be. And I think that's really what shows like this series' strong point is that it does these character development moments so perfectly that it makes us feel like these characters could be real in our world. And honestly, I think that's like the biggest point of this episode. It just shows that this creator can just really make a character that is totally different from the beginning and totally different from the current episode. And I think that's the coolest part about it. I mean, if we look at Pyoko from before, she was more close to Keiji. She relied on him. She was afraid. And now she is more brave than ever, and she's more independent than she was. And not only that, we see a lot of what she's learned. That's the other big thing I like about this episode is that we see the lessons she's learned from the other influences we've seen. It's not just Keiji that has been a big influence on her. It's also been Elizabeth. It's also been Mario. It's pretty much been everyone that has been brave so far in the series that has really shown Pyoko that she doesn't have to be the great mighty warrior in the world. All she has to be is herself and just believe in herself and not give up. We see this when she thinks about Mario help helping keep the dam together and everything. And I think that helps it a lot. I actually do like uh that we get that flashback and she's like, um, that's right, Mario didn't give up no matter what. Even when those people he didn't even know were in danger. And I liked that line too. He didn't even know who these people were and he saved them anyway. And then it also shows her uh have the feather. Who knows where that feather ended up in? I don't want to know, but for as we know, she drops this feather. It just comes out of nowhere, and it's one of Keiichi's feathers. And she's literally like, she's gonna keep it as a good luck charm. And she's reminded of what Keiji has done since the beginning, and how he has never given up. And I think that really just shows that this was a plan out character development story from the very beginning, which is hard to do from to make this character development story from start to finish. It's hard for me even, but as you see it continuing, you're like, oh, I could kind of see the creator's mindset when he was creating this. It's almost like when we see a lot of other manga stories where we see character development stuff, and you're like, oh, well, I think that character could become something else. Oh, I think that character's going to get stronger. Oh, I think that character's going to be more brave. when we see them play out and everything, we're like, oh, I can finally see the vision and everything. And while you don't see it from the beginning, you see it in the resolution. And I really do like how this series pretty much adapts that aspect from the manga source. And I do like that about that very much. Another thing that I really would say is that I do. I always thought it was cute in like the manga that Pyoko hits her weapon to be uh, a literally a nail, and I think that was just the funniest thing when I read the manga. This time around, when I saw it in the anime, they didn't play it out as like a big joke, you know. Uh, I think that was mostly because that was like a one-time deal thing and everything, and they probably didn't want it to be kind of like a big ha-ha moment because, well, that would be kind of copying too much of the manga. And when you copy too much of the manga, it's almost like, okay, I know this story from start to finish. I don't need to watch this anime anymore. So, and that's kind of why we have these changes and everything. But I really think there's a point where you go too far, and that's where the Elizabeth and Kizuki stuff comes in. And I really did not like how they got that out of the story because, like I said, if you remember, we saw all those demons come at them, and that was supposed to show that these demons were fighting Elizabeth and Kizuki. Because when you watch the anime, it's almost like, well, where did the other demons go? Well, during this whole crisis, and you're also thinking to yourself, wait a minute, what even is the other characters doing while Pyoko's doing all this? I really felt like we should have found a way, even if you had to cut the episode in half, like what you've done with past episodes. I really think it would have benefited way more. And also, with how short the manga is anyway, I really thought a episode of a volume of a whole volume would not work at all, and it really didn't, to be honest with you. I think they were just kind of testing the waters to see what it would be like if they did that. And while I know some people won't worry about it, when it goes to rewatch, you really notice these things, what happened to these demons and whatever. And that's really what bothers me mostly is that people are going to think that this is a flawed story when really they didn't get the other half of it. But from what Adult Swim's episode preview for the next episode, it looks like we're going to show more of that because they showed in that episode preview something that happens during the whole side of subplot and everything. So who knows? Maybe they'll focus more on Elizabeth and Kizuki, but even then, that big cliffhanger would really like put a bad taste in my mouth because it would be like I want to see that side being adapted, but I also want to see the other side being adapted. It's just one big mess and everything. Another thing I will add is I do like how they kept the scene. Now, I don't understand where this scene takes place. Even the manga doesn't really explain it all too well. I was hoping the anime would give me more information about this. Like maybe the creator could give more insight in the anime version of when this scene actually takes place. And that's when um, we see after the intro, we get a flashback to uh, Elizabeth getting a stun gun to stun the demons that are actually good. And we also see her father, well, not really her father, her adopted father, uh, speaking chicken to her. And I really think that scene is so cheesy and funny and everything. It just really shows how weird her owners really were. but it also kind of fits within them because who puts a chicken inside their house anyway? But it it's goofy and silly fun, but it also was kind of heartwarming as well, seeing how we actually saw how even though we saw kind of how her owners actually acted with her, how they pretty much treated her like a human to herself, but he literally calls her daughter and everything, and it's almost like this is just my speculation, but I honestly think they were unable to have children, and that's why they have Elizabeth as kind of their daughter, pretty much. And I do think that's a little something special in its own sense because, well, while we don't get like the explanation of the manga, we might get the explanation later on. So I think that's kind of why they kind of showed it anyway. And I do think this scene was really useful in the sense where we got explanation while she got the gun, but when did it happen? Because she didn't have it before these episodes or when she met Keiji, which is another plot hole when it happens. And I really blame the manga for that plot hole and everything. They really couldn't do much with it unless they pulled a Tole and added filler in the episode, which I guarantee you a lot of people will be really mad because those days are pretty much gone now because people just really just hate filler nowadays. But as I really think about it, I am starting to think that maybe she called her dad while, Keiji and Kizuki and Kyoko were like resting during that time, before she got the gun and everything. And, she got the information that the good demons were actually good. It's kind of confusing, but you kind of see my mindset that it could have happened while Kizuki was knocked out cold. She could have like called her dad and everything and texted him and then literally said, "Hey, I need a new invention and everything. Can you get your company to come by here and everything?" And I really think that really helps it a lot in a sense. Now, I will say for everything, the whole like animation towards this episode, I got a lot to say about the animation this episode because I'm starting to feel like these last episodes were more rushed than how it looked in the beginning because I hate to say it, but I really think we're going to see a lot of people at some point call this One Punch Man 2.0. And I hate to say that, but it really is starting to be like that because I've noticed a couple of times this episode, not that I'm blaming the animators or anything, but I really think they kind of used up most of their budget for these CGI creatures and everything that they have to do one frames. So you can pretty much guess what they're going to go with. Like, for instance, with Blue Lock, people call it frame lock or blue frame, or with One Punch Man, it's one frame man. And who knows, Rooster Fire may become Rooster Frame or something like that. Uh, it's a pretty much a sad meme in the community, and I really think it's harsh to even speak towards animation like that because while we can say that we hate the animation all we want, we can't change it for one. And two, when we say that to the animators, it's pretty much saying that they wasted their time giving us something that they tried their best at. And we've heard stories of like how some animators are treated. They don't, they work and work and work, and then they don't go, sometimes they don't go home for an entire day, even. And uh, it's just all pretty, it's like bad in the industry, but we can support them as we go along. But I will say the frames were a little bit jarring to me because I was not expecting it this episode because we see it in like I see it more in anime today that try to like rush a season, but it seems like they were really trying not to do so much of that. And I can kind of see that being annoying to some people, but I just wanted to point that out that I could see this finale not looking as good as what the first episode looked like or what the second episode looked like, where the animation looked more peak and then towards the end of the season, it kind of goes downhill. But who knows? Maybe this is like the only episode with that had that rush issue, and that's kind of why we have where we rush through the source material through an entire volume, too. So, in other words, this could just end up being just a rush episode altogether, which who knows? Maybe it's true or not, but it's just my speculation and everything. But I really think it's not that big of a deal because, as I always say, you can have bad animation and still have a good story, and that's really what makes more sense to it. And then, uh, and then of course, you have bad writing and then also good animation, which is not a good story at all. And but you're it's literally like background noise. And I just feel like the better story is just better. And this story is just very superior. And I'll close off my thoughts with Kyoko's design and how I really thought like how they adapted it in the anime. I do like how they pretty much her design is the same, but I will say her eyes glowing was such a better effect than what it was in the manga. I know you can't make that happen in the manga, but I like that hidden detail. And who knows, maybe the creator even thought of this as well, that this was part of his imagination as well. Of like, if this was animated, I would actually make the eyes glow, and I think that glowing effect actually makes it pretty cool. Honestly, you never know. This might one day become one of those on one of those tweets that people put out. Top 10 anime eyes. Pick your favorite, and this might become one of those
Oh,
because
dude.
this is a pretty top contender for those pretty cool eyes. I know it's mostly Naruto that gets in those polls because they have so many unique different eyes and everything, but I really think Pyoko has a good stance where it's at because of how cool her design with her eyes are. And whoever thought of making it shine like that really just shows that she's not the same she used to be and that she's actually going to be more powerful and ready this time.
I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was pretty good. As far as like the animation and the quality, I really don't expect anything necessarily wild from Toonami. Last time we saw anything that was like closely like triple A almost, it would have been Lazarus, but of course some of it was lacking. I think this one has been one of the more steadier series that they've had so far overall, just from story to the animation, which may not be the best in the world, but I don't think people are going to be watching it for animation. It's just not one of those series. It's not Jujutsu Kaisen. It's not like any of those Shonen Jump series that have to have the animation to sometimes make up for the story. This is going to be about the comedy,
It's
about the
definitely
action.
not solo leveling, I will tell you that.
So a lot of those are special scenarios where series just out of nowhere, boom. This is different version of that, very much so. Um, yeah, whenever I saw Pyoko go down like that, I was not expecting her to die, and then we get that like reawakening into like her powers. She gets like a little sick tattoo, I think, for a second, and then the eyes come out, which was pretty cold. It's something I've never
I
seen
will
before.
say, and I've always noticed this marking and everything, but it's so close to looking like Whis' signature in Dragon Ball Super almost when on Goku's gi, if you remember. It had that circle with like the arrows and everything. It
Yeah.
just really looked very similar. And I don't know if that was on purpose or pure coincidence, but who knows?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. Hopefully, we get to see Pyoko go off and try to remove the creature inside, but that's looking like a pretty good next episode, honestly.
Yeah. Another thing that I will mention is that I was not expecting how Blade this is. I almost forgot about this, but
Hmm.
I talked to you about this, but it is crazy to me that this was a TV 14 episode when like the first episode was very not as gory, not as pretty much these episodes barely have swearing to begin with, but this episode was more gorier than any episode that has happened so far, and yet this got a TV 14 rating. And I think that is just the funniest thing. Who knows? Maybe uh, the rating system people were actually on crack or something while rating this episode or whatever. Who
Yeah.
knows? But but it's kind of strange how it honestly did not have that TVMA logo at the beginning and it said TV 14. Especially with her being penetrated by that tentacle. I know that's so out of context, but being penetrated by that tentacle really was more gory than anything in this series so far. From the manga standpoint, I can't really think of much that was more gory than that. So it's honestly pretty strange because that felt like something that would be in like Mortal Kombat or something, you know?
Yeah, it kind of like shocks you a bit because it feels kind of out of place with this type of series. It's supposed to be action comedy, and then all at once they try to kill off a character, and then she like reawakens a hidden ability we assume she had inside of her this whole time.
I'm pretty sure with people actually watching that episode, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of people that were pretty shocked when they saw that because they were not expecting it. And I really think that just adds more to like how this series is one of those series that you don't know what's going to happen next
Yeah,
and that it's not predictable. And that's what I want in more anime today. I don't want the same good old reused storyline over and over and over again. We have enough reincarnated stuff. We have enough isekai type of stuff. We need more original ideas, and what better original idea than what a chicken of a rooster fighting demons?
I do like that
That
idea.
that is more original than what most of these anime try to go for nowadays, especially these manga nowadays. I know there are some that are original that are coming out fairly recently, and but they might not get a series in like 5 to 6 years from now, or maybe even 3 years from now. Who knows?
Maybe
But
even longer.
it could be even longer. But let's not forget, even Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto, hasn't got his Samurai 8 manga adapted in anime yet, and he's like a top, well known author. And you would think someone would want to adapt that, but that ended in like 2022 or something, and that still hasn't got adapted, which is really strange. So really anything can happen when it comes to adapting manga. A lot of people thought this was a little too crazy of an idea to even be in an anime version of it. And ha ha on them, they actually got this into anime form. And I really think this episode pretty much shows that you can't really predict what's going to happen in this series. And also, it also shows how great the writing is in this series as well.
Yeah, I do agree. I was just thinking to myself, if there wasn't roosters in the series, I don't think Toonami would even have it in the first place. I think that's what sold it to them, is they're like, oh, roosters? We gotta have that series. I was quite surprised what it was even about. Like, I saw the like initial like little teasers, and then I finally watched the series. I'm like, oh, I thought these were like giant roosters. No, they're literally rooster sized, and they're fighting demons. I was like, okay. I mean, I thought it was just like a giant rooster, like people, and they would like have their own villages. No, they're literally animals. Yeah, you just don't know what to expect. Thought this episode was great.
Not only that, the advertising speaks for itself. Just keep on saying clucking around and oh look, it's a cock.
They throw it.
You have that all that advertising just speaks for itself of what kind of series you're expecting.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a good thing that they reached for this. I'm kind of surprised that we didn't get something like this sooner. I felt like if they took the Lazarus budget and they threw it here, it would have been way better than what it is now.
Definitely, definitely. I will say that. I do think going forward for as original anime, I think for like a cheaper option to make anime more accessible for Toonami, you just go to Warner Brothers Japan, make an anime studio there, and then make their anime in Warner Brothers Japan, sell it to Toonami. They make the dub, they show it off and air it. I really think that would work out for itself, but really, it's not really happening. And I really don't know what to expect from Toonami as for originals go by because it seems like we're getting less and less originals as a whole from so many bad reviews from people. Like, the community started off strong, but then it burnt out as a whole. And then on top of that, Lazarus just blew way down out of the water uh, at that first episode, and everybody pretty much called it slop. And then you have Rooster Fighter, which wasn't even an anime they own. It's a Viz Media anime, and who knows if they actually get to keep the airing rights for this, where they can air it anytime they want. This this really is kind of strange and everything. And really, all we know, what we have to look forward to is two more seasons of Ninja Kamui and hopefully more seasons of My Adventures with Superman. But even that's not guaranteed. We have that Green Lantern show happening.
Yeah.
it it's kind of sad to see that Toonami is struggling to get these originals, mostly because I have heard that Jason Blum even knows that it's hard to even get these originals because it costs so much to even get the license and then dub it at the right time, then air it around the right time too. It just is a whole mess, and it's just way easier to just get another season of Dawn to Dawn or another season of One Piece to just be aired on it instead.
Less risk to it.
But
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, it's just way easier to just get these popular series that you know are going to succeed than a brand new series and take risks. It's just the sad truth, to be honest with you. But I do think they picked this series more than likely because of how popular the manga is, because the manga sells like hotcakes and has been since it came out in 2020. And as we know it, this series could end up becoming a Vismia classic that they even want to partner more with tonight. At least I hope that we get more partnership with Viz, that they want to put some of their original anime that they're unsure about onto Toonami, and I really hope that happens.
Yeah, I'm just hoping they're willing to take more risk. But there's also this whole thing where, like, the series that are coming out in Japan, like any of the manga series, you gotta think like, what can they bring in and make a killer series off of? Because if you look at like a lot of the stuff that we've had as far as Toonami, it's either like original stuff or wait, has most of it been originals? Like no content? What was Lazarus even based off of? That was an original, wasn't it?
That was original.
Oh my
That was
God.
original by the creator of Cowboy Bebop. He saw this idea, but he was retired from the manga business. So he went to a studio to make the actual idea. And that's why pretty much it wasn't that full out developed and everything.
That's why a lot of these series have not been that great. They're trying to do everything like off the cuff, and it's so hard to create universes in such a little time because the chances of them even getting a second, third season are like impossible. I'm surprised that a Ninja Kabubi is going to even get it. That was like one of their more solid ones because it had like a lot of action initially into it, but whenever it gets to the end, it just kind of collapses. I think it really started well at the start, and then it collapses at the end. Yeah, that's what the problem is then. I think that's more than anything. And then Rooster Fighter, they finally have like a manga to base everything out of. They don't have to think as hard. All they got to do is do the work, get nitty gritty with it.
Not only that, they had a good relationship with like Crunchyroll, and now it's just been going downhill from there because they used to get series from like Crunchyroll that was like Food Wars, or they get enough seasons of Dragon Ball Z kind of last them for months and months and months. And now pretty much they have become more greedy and everything that they're just hard to negotiate with. They even had a Crunchyroll exclusive that Crunchyroll was even willing to let Toonami even get because it was a Sega IP, and it was the Shenmue anime, which if you don't know, that's a video game that was on the Dreamcast, and it was actually really good and everything.
Hmm.
The only problem is that they didn't fully own it. So that means they could only air it twice, and then bye bye to it, no longer to see again. It it's just so bad that they have to go with these original anime, not a part of a manga. And I kind of wish they could go for, you know, these mangas that are newer and everything and could become the next big thing. But to each their own.
Yeah, I think they just need the right property. I think comedy is a good direction. I think they could even do like a horror. Like, I thought Uzumaki was pretty good, even though people are like, "Oh, this is crap." I liked it. I found it enjoyable. It was short and it was sweet. That's how it's supposed to read, and I felt like I got something out of watching it. Um, yeah. But as far as Rooster Fighter, this episode, it was good to me. I thought it was great. So, you ready for my next question?
Yes,
What would you rate this episode of Rooster Fighter?
I would definitely rate this one a 10 to a 9.9. Mostly because animation wise and getting out of that side plot really hinders the story. But at the same time, it has really high stakes that really just show the good of this series.
I'm trying to think like what would I rate it? I can't rate it exactly a 9, but at the same time I want to in my heart. But whenever I compare it to like a lot of other series, this and especially this episode's like it was a good episode. It was really good. But at the same time there was some things that they probably could have done a bit better. I'm gonna say 8.4, just because they had a lot of things they could have worked on in this one especially. And it's set for a really good episode if they do make Pyoko go Super Saiyan in the next one.
Yeah.
So that's my overall thoughts. Got anything else to add to that?
I will say for the next episode, um, as you know, there are these two brothers, and they're the devils. And, we've seen the one that, the short one, that KG can barely defeat, but
Hmm.
we haven't seen much of the taller brother, the
Oh,
whole, from what it is, the we're going to see what that devil can turn into in his hidden power.
yeah.
And that's what's going to make, this big episode. And that's what they kind of teased. But this episode really does seem like we're going to focus more on the KG, Elizabeth, and Kizuki side of things where they have to destroy the big devil brother because he's been holding back all this time. And when he's set loose, he goes all out and he becomes even as big as a demon himself.
So I was gonna go like Hulk or the Thing mode on us. I like it. Sounds pretty fun. I guess with that, we would like to know what your guys' thoughts are on Rooster Fighter Episode 9. I feel like I'm gonna get it wrong again, but I believe it was Episode 9. But yeah, d- d- I'm messing up. We want to know what your guys' thoughts are on Rooster Fighter Episode 9. Hope you guys stay safe. Until next time, peace out, guys.
Peace out, guys.